Alright, in part 2 of this video of how to create a skeleton animation in Photoshop's timeline, we're going to talk about creating the second step of our two-step walk cycle and then how to export this animation out as an animated GIF. The first video we just created the first 5 frames, which is one step of a two-step cycle. So we created frame 1, which is the contact, frame 2 is the down position, frame 3 is the passing position, or called the going up position. Frame 4 is the up position, and frame 5 is the second contact. So basically what we're going to be doing with the second step is copying over the first 5 frames and then just switching the arms and the legs. So we will still have to create a couple of the copy group layers as we do this, but we're just going to repeat the same process we did with the first 5 frames to repeat this back to the second step of the opposite foot. So first thing I'm going to do is duplicate frame 1, and to move a frame as duplicated, all you have to do is click a frame and in the timeline just drag it left to right. We'll click this frame as a duplicate of frame 1 and drag it all the way to the end. There you go. So here is the 5th frame. Frame 1 has the left leg in the front, the dark leg, and frame 5 has the left leg at the back, so that means that's one step. And then my next frame is back to the original frame, which is frame 1. So I'm going to go back in between those and just repeat the same process we did for the first 5. And one thing I'm going to do is duplicate frame 3, which is the passing position. So next thing I'm going to do is do that. Let's duplicate to frame 3, and I'm going to move that now in between frames 6 and 7. So that way, it's going to be my second passing position. I just need to flip the legs because the right leg is stepping now. So now the right leg needs to be straight in this frame 6 instead of the left leg. So let's turn everything back up here. Right leg. Just reduce everything so I don't have to see all my other groups. Alright, left leg, go, or left arm. So in this time, the right leg needs to be straight. So we'll turn on straight there and turn off passing. And the left leg needs to be back, passing position. There we go. The rest should be still pretty good though. So what's going to happen is from the frame before that, frame 5, the right leg is going to contact. Then the next frame is the passing position that we're creating, where the right foot is stepping down flat. And then the next frame is a contact, so you can see we're getting some progression from the contact passing to the next contact. So just as we have frames 2 and 4, we need to create the down and the up position for this second step. So we're going to go to frame 5, which is the contact, and duplicate that. Or we can go back to frame 2. Sometimes it's easier just to reuse a frame that we already have. We've already got a good overall body position. We're just going to need to change what the arms and legs are doing there. So let's go back to frame 2 and duplicate that, and we'll move that to after frame 5, after frame 6. Okay. So there's my contact, and then now my new frame 6 is a duplicate copy of my first down, and I just need to change what my arms and legs are doing. So one thing we are doing with the right leg is we need to replace that with the left leg down. So right leg is going to be forward plant, and left leg, if you remember what we did on frame 2, we had to create this back flat copy. So we're going to go to back flat and make a copy of that or duplicate of that. Back flat copy is fine for now. Turn off back flat, and we're gonna make the adjustments here. So first off, let's take the right leg and just move that down. Move this forward some. And the left leg, we need to create a slightly bent leg and foot position. So with these three joints, move that down, go back to frame 2, see if we can roughly get the same position here. So with these three, we're going to rotate leg forward, and then I'm going to select my lower leg and foot and rotate those back. Hit Command T again, and then moving the pivot point. Hit Enter to get out of the Command T transform. Pretty good. And then we're just going to select the foot. Maybe rotate that back a little bit. Good. Maybe rotate the knee a little bit more. Right. Pretty close to the same position there. Frame 5, second down. Frame 2, first down. There we go. So it looks like the character is starting to step. There's a passing position, so that's pretty good. But we need to make the adjustments for the arm. Because we didn't switch the arms. The passive position is fine to leave the arms where they are, but we need to switch the arms for this position. So let's roll up our legs, open up our arms. And if you remember what we did like a straight going forward. So let's see, just make sure which way we're going here. So the right arm is moving forward. So we can do the right arm back. Let's just make a copy of this one back. Call this one like back going forward. Turn off the regular back, and then we'll just take these three arm positions and rotate it forward a little bit. Good. Whoop, we were on the wrong frame, so let's go back. We were on frame 5 by accident. That's why it's important to go back and forth and make sure you're on the right frame. So I'm going to make sure I turn off those layers and go back to frame 6 and turn off forward copy and turn on going back copy. Just make sure they're visible. Good. And we just need to go back through and rotate these forward. Yeah. All right, so we see that arm moving forward there. You might want to move them forward a little bit more. There we go. 5, arm is back. 6 is moving forward. 7 is straight. And then we're going to have to, whoop, straight and then forward. So we'll come back and blend that. So the left arm needs to start rotating back here. So on frame 6, go to left arm. And we really need to go from the forward position going back. Let's turn off back copy and turn on forward. And let's make a copy of that forward. Forward going back. Turn off the forward. Select these layers, kind of move them in there. And then I'm going to rotate that arm backwards. Okay. 5 is forward, 6 is going back, 7 is straight, and then 8, the left arm is all the way back. 5, 6, 7. Good. So that arm's good. The right arm is good. So the last thing we're going to do is create the up position in between the frame 7 and frame 8. So frame 7 is going up, passing position. Frame 8 is the last contact position. let's go to frame 7. Let's duplicate that. And then we're going to move the body up, creating a push off of the back foot, move the whole torso up, create some forward motion of the left foot moving forward. So if you remember what we did here on frame 4, that back left foot, we called it, made a copy, back flat push. So on this frame 8, this is going to be the right foot this time, the right leg. We're going to, let's see, turn on back flat and duplicate that group. We'll call this one back flat push. Turn off the back flat. I'm going here and rotate the foot. Move it back in place properly. Then I'm going to select the entire leg and move it up so it looks like the leg is pushing up. We'll come back and adjust the torso later. The left leg, we want this leg to continue moving forward. So let's go back to frame 4. Look at the right leg, what the right leg is doing. So we call this one passing forward. Go back to frame 8. We're going to make a copy of passing. Call this one passing forward. Make sure on frame 8 and passing forward, we're going to select those 3 body parts and rotate that forward. Maybe select the lower leg. Rotate that a little bit. Select just the foot. Rotate that a little bit. Okay. So we're looking for in between. There's the passing. There's the passing forward. And then there's the contact. There you go. All right, now we just need to continue the motion of the arms moving forward. So we'll make sure our arms are visible. And this is the left arm, so this is going to be straight going back. So we're going to make a copy. Say straight going back. And then with these 2 layers selected, rotate the arm, rotate it back a little bit. So that way the left arm is moving back more. Okay. And then the right arm, this is the straight. We're going to duplicate that. Call this one straight going forward. Okay, we'll turn off straight and leave straight going forward on. And we will rotate the arm forward. There you go. So the arms are continuing their motion in this up position. Last thing we need to do is just move the torso up. So there's the contact, 5, down position on 6, 7 is going up, 8 should be higher, so we're going to drag select on the torso and arms and hands. Miss the forearm here. And just move that up some. There we go. There we go. So we can see the body's continuing to go up. So there we have it. So we have really 9 frames here. The body is continuing its motion with each frame. Let's hit play and let's watch it. So we're at a 1.1 second delay. That's a pretty good walk. Now we can always advance this and create more frames in between each one of these frames. So the next step would be to go from frame 1 to frame 2 and say, well, that's a pretty big gap there. Let's try to blend that motion a little more. Then we'll go to frame 2 to frame 3 and do the same thing. We'll try to blend that motion a little more. And then go through, we're basically going to double each frame almost. We're going to go from about a 9 frame animation to a 17 or 18 frame animation. So here's where my second file is. I have some stepping frames as well. So like frame 1 is standing, then it goes into some step-in motions, and then frame 4 is really my starting contact position. So if you ever don't want a frame visible anymore and you want to move it out, you can select those frames, right click and choose dispose. Or we can hit the trash can button. Delete frame. And then I'm going to delete these last 3 frames as well. So that will show you I have a 17 frame motion. And the only difference I did between this ending file is there was frame 1 and my down position was right here. I added just another frame in between my major 5 positions. That blends that motion a little more. So there's frame 1, a blend. There's my down position on frame 3, another blend frame. There's my passing position on frame 5, another blend frame. There's my up position on frame 7, another blend frame, my first contact, and then I'm repeating the same steps. So that's really all I'm doing here. And then I selected all of my frames by holding down shift and selecting the frames and changing the delay to 0 or no delay. So it says 0 sec, which means it's going to play every frame one after another. It's not going to pause on each frame. So now if I hit play, Photoshop is struggling a little, but as it catches up, it'll be a much more smoother motion. I've even done a couple other things like bobbing the head every other frame. But that's the overall project and the idea of animating a skeleton within Photoshop. The last thing I wanted to show is how to save out an animated GIF. And I already have one created here. So if I double click on this, animated GIFs can open up in web browsers. So all this is an animated GIF of that same Photoshop file. I left the colors on there temporarily, but I'm going to create a new animated GIF to show the skeleton without the dark overlay adjustment layers. So I actually have 2 adjustment layers in this file, and I'm just going to turn off those layers. They're 2 levels layers, so I'm turning them off. So now if you hit play, whoop, that's a good point of view to point out as well, is layers, if they're on in one layer, that doesn't mean, and you turn them off, that doesn't mean they're turned off in every layer. So to turn a layer off in multiple frames, select all of those frames. So I'm going to select frame 1, hold down shift and select frame 17. That's going to select all of those frames. And then I'm going to turn off the layers levels for all of those frames at once. So when you select multiple frames and then turn off layers, that removes the layers from all of those frames. So now if I hit play, now the skeleton is all the same values. It looks pretty natural. Now, one final note I wanted to mention is that Photoshop is not a great animation tool. It doesn't do a whole lot of smooth blending. The more frames you have, the more smoother the motion is, but there's still going to be a little choppiness because of the nature of the frame-by-frame motion in the way Photoshop adjusts timeline-based animation. So there are better 2D animation tools that will smoothly blend motion in between different frames, but this is at least a good introduction to animating with 2D graphics, and Photoshop's a pretty simple tool to pick up for that occasion. So last thing we're going to do is export this out as a animated GIF. We go to File, Export, and Save for Web. Okay. Let it process our request. I'm not going to make any changes because I've already set up my document size and everything how I want to. I just need to make sure that it does say, oh, read the frame, so this is going to be animated GIF. And I can hit save. It's going to pull up a where to save to. Just going to call this final 2. We'll click save. Let it process and run through the timeline. It's already finished. We only have 17 frames, so it's not going to take too long. So then now if I click on my final 2 GIF, it should open it up in a web browser and show my final skeleton animation. So it's a pretty quick and easy way to build a character animated, in this particular point of view, a skeleton animating within Photoshop's animation frame by frame timeline.